Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriritam Kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grananti Ye Bhurida Jana. So today we will take up the first three slokas of the Shrimad Bhagavatam. They are considered to be the invocatory slokas of the Shrimad Bhagavatam. So it's our tradition that whenever we start a text, there should be some invocation, Mangalacharanam. So these first three slokas of the Bhagavatam has been dedicated as the invocatory verses of this great scripture. So it is one of the greatest books of the Bhakti tradition. The word Bhagavatam means that which deals with Bhagavan, the blessed supreme being. So this stupendous work, that huge work, it consists of about 18,000 verses. And this is actually divided in 12 books called skandhas, 12 skandhas. And in total, there are about 18,000 verses. And the subject matter of this entire Bhagavatam is pure love. The nature of pure love, how one can acquire it. And it has been exemplified by the lives of the saints and the sages that illustrate that love in that various forms. So we have already dedicated 2 classes for the introduction of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that what is the nature of the bhakti that has been enunciated in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. So now today we will just enter into the invocatory verse, the very first verse, and first we will read out and then just try to understand its meaning and have a discussion to have a thorough understanding of the sloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janma Adi Asya Yatah Anvayat Itaratah Cha Artheshu Abhigya Swarat Tena Brahmarida Ya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayah Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimaya Yatra Trisargah Amrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhaka Satyam Param Dhimahi. So the Sanskrit of Bhagavatam is extremely terse. It's a bit difficult to understand. But once you start understanding the Sanskrit of Bhagavatam, it is one of the sweetest verses in an entire Vedic, in our entire Sanskrit literature. So what it is speaking of? Janmadi yasya yataha. Janma adi asya yataha. Means he from whom creation, etc. Janma adi, creation, etc. By etc. is meant sustenance and dissolution. So he from whom the creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe takes place. So that's the meaning of the very first phrase of this sloka. Janma adi asya yatah. Janma adi asya yatah. So he from whom the creation, the sustenance, and the dissolution of the universe takes place. Anvayat itarata cha artheshu. So what it means? That he is both the anvaya, the material cause, as well as the efficient, the instrumental cause What is meant by the material cause and the instrumental cause? In the scripture, they give the example of a potter. When the potter is making a pot, the potter himself is the instrumental cause. He is the one who is going to make the pot. But he cannot make without ingredients. So the clay is the ingredient. So clay, the ingredient, is the material cause, and the potter himself is the instrumental cause. So if I think of the universe, that God is the one who has created it, then the question comes, from what he made it? So the scripture here is very specific by saying that there is nothing apart from him. He is the non-dual ultimate reality, conscious principle. It is from him, from that conscious principle alone, the entire creation has been projected. There is no other thing apart from him. It's not that he needs some matter to create the universe. The thing which we see as matter is in reality consciousness and consciousness alone. So that's what is being indicated in the second phrase, Anvayat itarata cha artheshu. He is both the material as well as the instrumental cause of the entire creation. Now, being the creator, naturally it follows that he is abhigya, omniscient. The one who is creating, he is bound to know the entire process of creation, from whom the creation has emanated. So he is abhigya, he is omniscient. He knows everything in details, in particular. Swarat, so he is independent. So we will come to the discussion. First, let us go to the literal meaning, and then this each and every word is very significant. That what actually that independence means. That we will come to the, when we will just discuss in details, we will come to it. So he's Swarat, he's independent. Nothing can bind him. He is beyond all the cause and effect, which we find by which the entire universe is as if bound. If you see anything, there must be cause for it. So the cause and effect, all the things in the world is bound by cause and effect. The one who is the ultimate creator, he is beyond this cause and effect. So that's by that is meant he's Swarat, he's independent. The next phrase is Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayah. That he is the one who illumined the mind of Brahma with a Vedic revelation which is incomprehensible even to the gods. Tene Brahma Hrida. So we will come to the discussion again from this. These are all the very pertinent ideas of the Vedic philosophy. Once you understand this, the idea from which the entire Bhagavatam will be emanating, those as if have been condensed in the first 3 slokas. The entire philosophy is as if condensed there. So it needs a bit of discussion. First, let us go to the literal meaning, and then we will come to the discussion. That the Brahma, he first created Brahma. The conscious principle, the Brahman, there is a difference between Brahman and Brahma. Brahma is the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind is not the ultimate conscious principle. This is the basic difference between the Oriental and the Western philosophy. In the Western philosophy, we will find again and again, the conscious principle is equated with the mind alone. It is the mind, by which I mean the soul, the conscious, ultimate conscious principle. But in Vedanta, it is only when you go beyond the mind, you transcend the mind, then only you can be aware of the ultimate conscious principle. It's the example which we can give at night, on a full moon night, when you see the entire earth to be illumined by the bright moon. Mistakenly, we may think that it is the moon which is illuminating the earth. But actually, it's what's happening, we all know, it is the sun which is illuminating the moon, and in turn, the reflected rays of the sun from the moon is illuminating the earth. Apparently, it may appear that the moon is luminous, but actually it is the sun which is not visible. That's the real cause of illumination. Similarly, the mind appears to be conscious, but actually it is inert as the IC chip of your computer. You see, if you just unless and until the bias voltage is passing through the chips of your computer, they're just inert matter. The one who doesn't know what's its function, it will appear just like a dead log wood. The moment the current passes through it, and through your keyboard, you can now operate the software programming, so that a world of virtual reality will just start projecting out of it. So the mind actually is inert, just like the IC chip of your computer. It's only when it comes in association with the conscious principle, it appears to be illumined. Just in the full moon night, the way the moon appears to be illumined. But actually, the real cause of illumination is the sun, which is not visible. It is the sun which is illuminating the moon, which in turn is illuminating the earth. So similarly, the mind is being illumined by the conscious principle, which in turn illumines our body, our senses, and again, it projects out to illumine the entire universe. It's not the opposite. It's not that the sun is giving light and that's why I see. It is that my real conscious principle is the illumination even beyond the sun. The sun is illumined because my conscious principle is there to acknowledge, to assert, to subscribe that the sun gives light. Unless I say the sun gives light, even the sun itself doesn't know it gives light. It needs that conscious assertion to say that the sun gives light. So it is a conscious principle which is illuminating the entire universe. So that's being indicated, that how it is illuminating. First, it finds expression as the cosmic mind. It is the cosmic mind which projects itself as the universe of this name and form. We will go to the discussion a little more elaborately after we just read the entire sloka and understand it's just the literal meaning. The next is that example, a simile which has been given to explain that how this universe has been projected from the conscious principle. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimaya yatra trisarga amrisha. So what happens? In whom the three worlds superimposed appears to be real. It's not real. All these three worlds is our earth, our concept of heaven, and the concept of the other worlds. All this concept is actually this entire universe is a superimposition. Just the way when the sun rays falls on the desert and it finds expression as the mirage. So that's being indicated as an example here. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimaya. That just the way the mirage is superimposed on the desert appears to be real. When you are passing through the desert, you are thirsty, you see a reservoir in a distance and you take it to be real. As you approach, after some time, you find that it vanishes, it's not there. And then you know it was a mere projection. So similarly, the entire universe is a projection of that conscious principle. Just the way the mirage is a projection of the desert. Unless the desert is there, I can never see the reservoir. That I need the desert as the substratum to see the reservoir. So this desert is the substratum on which the mirage, the reservoir, is projected. Similarly, that it is the conscious principle on which the entire universe is being projected. It's not like milk becoming yogurt. It is not parinama. It is vivarta. The ultimate principle remains as it is. There is no transformation. When I see the reservoir in the desert is in no way affected. The desert in no way has got converted into the reservoir. the desert remains as it is. Before my illusion, it was a desert. When I am just having the delusion of the reservoir, it is still the desert. And when the delusion is over, still it remains the desert. It never changed. It's only because of the illusion for some time I was seeing it as the reservoir. When I see a snake in a rope, the rope is in no way getting changed to snake. It is, it was, it will be the rope. That is the Trikal Avadhita Satya. That in the past, in the present, in the future, unaltered, it remains the rope. Because of illusion, the moment the illusion dawned in, I start seeing it as snake. The moment someone brings the torch and says, see, it is not a snake. You are just deluding it to be snake. And then the delusion vanishes. It's not that the rope really becomes snake. It's because of the delusion. For some time it was appearing as snake. So that's why snake is not Satya. Because as long as the delusion is there, it appears as snake. It was not the snake. It will not be the snake. Only for the time being, because of delusion, it appears to be snake. So it cannot be the truth. What is the truth? The rope is the truth. It was, it is, it will be the rope. So similarly, the conscious principle is the ultimate truth. It is the Trikal Avadhita Satya. It was, it is, it will be, unaltered. There is no alteration in it. All the creation which we see is just like the spectrum, the light falling on the prism. The prism is like the cosmic mind. The sunlight is falling on it, the conscious principle. It breaks into the spectrum of the 7 colors. Similarly, the conscious principle, when gets associated with the cosmic mind, and that cosmic mind itself has been emanated, has been projected by the conscious principle. And now this cosmic mind in association with the conscious principle projects this universe of name and form. It's a spectrum of name and form which has been projected. So that's the idea which is being indicated by saying Tejo Vari Miram Yatha Vinimaya, just like a mirage. Yatra Tri Sargah Amrisha. He's beyond the three, all the three states of this or time, the past, the present, the future is beyond that. Dhamna Swena Sada. So he is the one who is established in his own state. There is no alteration in him. There is no parinama. He is always in his own state, is established. Nirasta Kuhaka. In him there is no delusion. The delusion belongs to the one who is being projected. When I am a part of the projected reality, the ignorance belongs to me, but not to the one from whom the entire universe has been projected. So he's Nirasta Kuhaka. He's beyond all delusions. Nirasta means disarmed. Kuhaka means delusion. The one in whom all the delusion has been disarmed. He's beyond all delusion. And at last he says, these all are the adjectives which has been spoken of. Of what? And it is that ultimate reality, Satyam Param, absolute reality, on which I meditate. It is that supreme, Dhimahi is the meditation. On that supreme truth, we meditate. So this is the literal meaning of the sloka, the very first sloka of the Bhagavatam. So you will find that it actually speaks of jnana, the knowledge of the ultimate reality, which the Veda also speaks of. So this is the thing with which the Bhagavatam is starting. So it's a thing, as per the tradition, you have to start with a Mangalacharanam, an auspicious start. So this first verse is a Mangalacharanam of the Bhagavatam. Before starting describing the Leela, the divine play of an avatara, of the various avatars, of the various divine incarnations, it starts with an Mangalacharanam. So entire Bhagavat is auspicious. There was actually no need for invocation. Then why it has been that this invocation sloka has been composed by Vyasa? So just to follow the tradition. Otherwise, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, this book is full of auspicious words. It speaks of the Lord and Lord alone. Sri Ramakrishna used to say very nicely, that is, sugar candy tastes sweet, whether you eat it from the top or from the bottom, from the right or from the left. It tastes sweet. So this Bhagavatam, from wherever you may just pick out a portion, start reading it. It's sweetness. It's full of sweetness. But still, some auspiciousness has been chanted at the very beginning separately to follow the tradition. So now in this sloka, we will find actually the ultimate reality, the essential as well as the superimposed characteristic of the ultimate reality has been spoken of. So even in the Brahma Sutra, they speak of these two characteristics of the ultimate reality, the Brahman. What are they? The Swarupa Lakshana and the Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana and Swarupa Lakshana. What it means? Swarupa Lakshana means essential characteristic, and Tatastha Lakshana means superimposed characteristic. So what is the Swarupa Lakshana? At last it has been spoken, the Satyam Param Dhimahi. We meditate on that supreme truth. That alone, the Satyam which has been spoken of is alone the Swarupa Lakshana. It's very interesting. It actually is not that simple. The essential characteristic and the Tatastha Lakshana, the superimposed characteristic. In our day-to-day life, whatever we are perceiving, these two things are involved. What is the Swarupa Lakshana and what is the Tatastha Lakshana? Let us give a common example. When I'm seeing a red flower, the examples helps us to understand all these terse ideas. These ideas can be quite, as if academic. So we can understand it with the help of examples. Let's take a red flower. We say the flower is red, but actually is the flower red? Even with an ordinary science, it will be understood that the flower is actually not red. Sunlight falls on the flower. All this light has various spectrums, various vibrations, various wavelengths of light. These various wavelengths of light is falling on the flower. All the wavelengths of light are absorbed. A particular wavelength is reflected back. Know it for certain. It has no color. They are just vibrations. There is no color. A particular wavelength of vibration is reflected back. It comes and touches your eyes. The red color which I see in the flower is not entering from the flower into my brain. The brain, which is the organ through which the mind is working. Very interesting. The function of the light stops at your retina. The light can never enter your brain. The brain is the darkest part of your body. No light enters there. The light just touches your retina and it immediately gets converted into some optic nervous current. There's an optic nerve through which particular frequency of nerve current is passing. When it reaches the brain and it reaches the color perception center, it is actually not the color perception center. It is actually the color projection center. What is reaching there? Not the light. It is just a particular wavelength of your optic nerve current. It is just a nerve impulse. Just like the computer, when you are typing A, like press the keyboard and you press the A. It is not that the A comes directly in the screen. The A is getting converted into 0 and 1, nothing else. That 0, 1 again is being decoded. First it is encoded and then again it is decoded and in screen it appears as A. The same thing is happening here. Nowadays with a computer, we can understand the working of the mind in a much better way. So what is happening? The light which has fallen on your retina, that is getting converted into a nerve current. That nerve current, when it reaches the color perception center, the color is actually projected out from there. And it reaches and it envelops the flower to give that sensation that it is red. That redness is actually projected by your mind. So now all our perceptions, you will find, is actually the projection of the mind. When I say the flower is red, it is actually not red. So then what it is, we can never know. There is something, but I can never know what it is with my senses. With my mind, with my senses, I can never know. But what I cannot deny is that it is not that it is, there is not, that it is nothing. There is something. But I cannot, through my mind and senses, it gets colored, it gets tinged. Its real essence, I don't know. But in essence, something is there. So that is the thing which the Vedanta is asserting. In essence, the universe at last is the conscious principle. Our mind and senses are projecting it into this world of this color, of sound, whatever I'm hearing, seeing, touching, tasting. All these are the projections of the mind. Mind is not something which is just seeing the things as it is. There is something. I don't know what it is. It is always unknowable. The moment the mind tries to understand it, decipher its reality, it is coloring it. That's how our minds are. We all understand. It's a very simple way of understanding that we are coloring. So you will now understand what is superimposition, that there is something. The scripture will say, in essence, it is the conscious principle, consciousness and consciousness alone, which is being interpreted as this world of name and form. My mind is interpreting it. So what is the Swarupa Lakshana, essential characteristic? The Satyam, the truth. That is there. Something is there. That is the truth. That is the Swarupa Lakshana. Everything else is the Tatastha. This universe of name and form. Tatastha means what? The word Tatastha is very interesting. Tatastha means by the shore. And the Tata means, suppose you are sitting in your house and you just some guest has come and you say, you know, my house is very near to the river. And the guest asks, where is the river? Now, immediately you cannot show the river. So what you do, you say that you just see the tree. That's the nearby, that some tree is there. Just on the shore of the tree, just by the side of the tree, the river is flowing. It is that near. It's not visible from here, but the tree you see, it is just by the side of the tree, the river is flowing. Tatastha, just tata. Tata means by the shore. So here, by seeing the tree, I can just infer that there is a river flowing by it. So similarly, all this sight, sound, smell, touch, whatever sensations we are having, all these sensations indicates that behind it, something in essence is there. That I cannot deny. That if nothing was there, it is as good as hallucinating. It is not hallucination. When I just simply close my eyes and try to imagine something, there is nothing. It is just mere imagination. When I say the world is not real, it doesn't mean it is a mere imagination. Something is there, which is being interpreted as this world of name and form. So these all are the Tatastha Lakshana. That whatever I see, that all indicates that behind all these perceptions, something is there, which in essence is the Satya. That is the Satyam Param, absolute truth. We meditate on that. So in this sloka, the Satyam Param Dhimahi, this indicates the essential characteristic of that absolute reality. All others are the adjectives, the Tatastha Lakshana, the superimposed characters. So what are those superimposed characters? That he from whom the creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe takes place. Janmadi asya yataha. The same thing has been spoken of in the Chandogya Upanishad, in all the Upanishads. In Chandogya Upanishad, there is this mantra, Sarvang Khalvidam Brahma. Whatever you are seeing, Sarvang Khalu Idam Brahma. Whatever you see, whatever you perceive, is that ultimate reality, is the Brahman and Brahman alone. And the next phrase is very interesting. Tajjalan iti shanta upasita. Nowadays, we speak of acronyms that you just use the alphabets to explain something. Just like nowadays we use RAIN, RAIN, RAIN. Just to give an example, it's an acronym for this mindfulness. What the RAIN says, the R of the RAIN is means you recognize your emotion. A means accept it, don't try to run away from it. I means investigate its nature. And then N means negate or note. So RAIN, RAIN, actually is an acronym which actually means something else, which is more subtle. So here you will find the same acronym is used in the Upanishad mantras. The Tat Jalan is an acronym. Tat Jalan. If you break it, what's Tat means from that. Ja means Jayate. La means Liyate. An means Aniyate. That from which the universe has came, Jayate, has been born. La, Liyate, it again merges into that. And An means in which it sustains. Aniyate means sustenance. So now see how wonderfully in the Upanishad we find that acronym, Tajjalan iti shanta upasita. And knowing that whatever you see is actually that Brahma. What is that Brahman? From which this universe has been projected, in which it is sustained, in which again it merges. Knowing that, don't get identified with the changes of the world, with the flow. Be detached from it. It's all that you are the spectator. The things which you are seeing is just a flow. Don't get identified with that. And the one you can get detached, that speaks of Shanta, that makes you calm. Nothing can disturb you. So knowing the Brahman to be the one from which the entire existence has been projected, in it is sustained, in it dissolves. So this is just a mere flow, but the one who is behind it is always there. Knowing that, just worship, being calm. That will bring you the calmness in this world. In spite of all the flow, all the changes that are going on, nothing can affect you if you can be on the shore watching the flow, you are not in this flow. You are not getting drenched in the flow. You are apart from it, sitting in the shore, watching the flow. You're the witness. So that's the idea when in the Upanishad has been indicated when they're saying that Sarvang Khalvidang Brahma Tad Jalaniti Shanta Upasita, knowing that, be calm in and just go on meditating. So that's the same idea is being indicated when they, in this sloka, they use the phrase Janmadi Asyayata. From him, the entire universe is being emanated. It is in which it is sustained, in which it emerges. Immediately, we will have that idea that most probably that the Brahman is getting converted to the universe. To negate that idea. So it's these Upanishads, the slokas are being constructed in such a way that it won't leave you any scope for misunderstanding. That I may think there is a parinama, there is a transformation, just like the way the milk gets converted into yogurt. So like that, the Brahman has got converted into the universe. To deny that fact, the next word is used is Anvayat Itarata Cha Artheshu. That he is both the material as well as the instrumental cause. How is it possible? That only when something is superimposed. Otherwise, it's not possible. That when something is superimposed, then that the thing on which it has been superimposed can be the material as well as the instrumental cause. Just we were giving that example when you see a rope when you see a snake in a rope. The rope is never been transformed. It is the same rope on which the snake is superimposed. Do you need some other material apart from the rope to create that snake? No. It is the same rope. It is the material as well as the instrumental cause. So in the Upanishad also, the same idea is being spoken of in the Mundaka Upanishad. They give a very wonderful example. What? Yathor nanabhi srijate grinhate cha yatha prithivyam oshadhaya sambhavanti yatha sata Purushat Keshalomani Yatha Aksharat Sambhavati Vishwam. What is it speaking of? That how can a thing be the material as well as the instrumental cause? Just like a spider. And the spider weaves the cobweb. From where it is creating the cobweb? From itself, its own saliva. With that, it is creating the cobweb. So for the spider net, the spider itself is the material as well as the instrumental cause. Just the way from your body, the hair comes out. These are the examples the Upanishad is giving. You are both the instrumental as well as the material cause. From your body, the hairs are coming out. You don't need any other material for the growth of the hair, or the way the vegetation comes out from the soil. So these are the examples which the Upanishads are giving. So he's both the material as well as the instrumental cause of the entire creation. And he's Abhigya, he's omniscient. Being the creator, he knows, just the way the programmer knows that all the steps of the programming. In a video game, for me it may be a challenge that how to just go to the goal or to the destination. But the one who has programmed, he knows that what's the step to be followed to just go to the conclusion, go to the ultimate solution. So similarly, the one who has programmed the universe, first that conscious principle found expression as the cosmic mind, in which the entire programming is already there, which is being projected out as the universe. So naturally, he is omniscient, Abhigya, and who is independent, Swarat. So this is what by Swarat is means, that the creation in no way affects him. Just the way the snake which you see on the rope, that snake in no way can bite the rope. Can it bite the rope? No, it's just a mere projection. The water, the huge reservoir, which I see while traveling on a desert, such a huge reservoir I see. Has the reservoir any capacity to drench even a single sand particle of the desert? No. It's a mere projection. Similarly, the one from whom the entire creation has been projected, he is in no way affected by the creation. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say very nicely, the snake, its poison, when it bites someone else, that poison can affect the person who has been bitten. The same snake, which is carrying the poison always in its fangs, it never gets affected by that poison. So similarly, the ultimate reality from whom this delusion has emanated, he is not deluded. He is beyond the delusion. So who illumined, the next thing they are told, that is the one who has illumined, Tene Brahma Reda Ya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayaha. So the one who has illumined the mind of Brahma. This is the thing which is very interesting. The conscious principle finds expression as the cosmic mind, and then the creation comes. All our scripture speaks of that. This is the thing which with our shallow scientific knowledge we can never understand. We think that the consciousness is an epiphenomenon, that the matter and energy is there as the ultimate reality. It has conglomerated and accidentally consciousness has came, which is nowhere there in the universe. Only in this earth we find the living beings which appears to be conscious. It's an epiphenomenon. Somehow the matter has conglomerated to evolve as consciousness. That's what, with our shallow understanding of our science, we have an idea. The scripture says just the opposite. The consciousness alone is the phenomenon, is the reality. Everything else is epiphenomenon. It's very difficult to understand that how it is being spoken, how it can be true. But now, with the advancement of the science, you can get an inkling of it. In the quantum physics, there's a wonderful experiment called the double slit experiment. It's a wonderful experiment which speaks that unless there is an observer, there cannot be no tangible reality. The thing which I'm saying solid, just let us try to understand. I'm sitting here in front of me, there's a table, I say it is solid. Is it really solid? Even with your basic science, you will understand it is not solid. Just with your basic science, let us try to understand that at last, if I try to break down this matter, this table, what it will be broken down to? At last, the molecules, the atoms. The atoms, again, it has the subatomic particles. It has a nucleus with the neutrons and the protons, and the electrons are as if revolving around it. It's a very basic science. Of course, the science is much more sophisticated, but let us take this basic science, which we have studied in our school. Now, very interesting that this solid thing, which is made up of atom, that atom has a nucleus with the electrons moving around. Now, what's the distance between the nucleus and the electrons? Very interesting. And most of the place is space, If you really try to enlarge an atom to the size of a football ground, so what will be the space between the neutron and the electrons? Very interesting. They say that if you enlarge any atom, even of the heaviest metal, at last you will find it is all space. The neutron is just the size of the football in the center of the ground, and the electron is as if someone is running around the stadium. The entire field is empty. So how can then we just say that this is solid? Why we perceive it as solid is a limitation of our senses. You will also understand with a very common example. When the fan is revolving, between the blades, the space is the thing which is more prevalent. The blades occupy less space. The space is the thing which is more. But when the fan starts revolving, what you see? You see just a disc, isn't it? That our eye doesn't have the capacity to see that fast motion. There is the retention power of the eye. What it is, something is in front of your eye, it moves out, something comes immediately. Immediately, both the things will get superimposed. To give a very common example, we used to do it in the school. Take a paper, on one side of it, you draw a cage, on the other side, you draw a bird. And just fix a stick in such a way that the page goes on turning. Once you see the bird, and the next moment you see the cage. It's a very common experiment we all did in school. You will see the bird in the cage the moment you start revolving, but actually the bird is not in the cage. In one side you have drawn the bird, in the other side you have the cage. It is because of the retention power of your eyes that if a thing moves out from your vision and something comes within a very short time, these two get superimposed. The entire movie which we are seeing is because of this retention power of eyes. Actually, all are still pictures moving very fast, giving you the idea of motion. There's no motion. Our retention power is different from that of the dog. Sometimes you will find it is very difficult to keep the dog sit in front of your TV and watch the TV because it sees nothing. It sees just the dots. Its retention power is different. And as a result, what happens? It cannot see the picture. So just see how our indriyas are constituted. Why I'm saying that? It is because of the limitation of the senses. I cannot see that tremendous motion. Even you will find in the Max Planck University in France, in the Max Planck University in Germany, there is in front of it, there is the statue of Natarajan. You know why? Because in the quantum mechanics, they find that the way it has been discussed in our scripture, it so much tallies with the quantum mechanics. That what is the Nataraja, what it depicts? That Shiva is dancing at a tremendous pace, tremendous speed. But at any moment, you will look at his face, it is meditative, it is calm. And in one hand, he is having vara, he is as if blessing the entire creation, and in another abhaya. There is nothing to fear. that in this tremendous motion, somehow, that what appears is to be very calm, everything stable. Because of the tectonic movements, anytime there can be earthquake, but we are so sure my house has a strong foundation, nothing is going to happen. But constantly this motion is going on, tectonic movement is going on. Anytime there can be earthquake, everything can just simply shatter. Earth is moving at a tremendous speed. We think we are sitting here quietly observing the sky. Even that your aeroplane cannot move at that speed. At that speed, the earth is revolving. Everywhere you find motion. Our indriyas doesn't have the capacity to see that. I see everything calm and quiet, on which I can sustain myself. That speaks of the vara and the abhaya. Shiva is giving you abhaya. In spite of this speed, it is you who can be sustained. So that's the image. That's why it's been kept in front of the Max Planck University. So here also you will find because of the limitation of our indriyas, I am seeing it as a solid structure. Then you may say, if it is not solid, my hand is supposed to penetrate through the table. Why doesn't it happen? It is actually the interaction of fields. Just the way a positive proton won't allow another positive proton to come near it. It will repel. The fields repel each other. So it is actually the fields of the various atoms by which I am constituted that is being repelled by the field here, which doesn't allow me to penetrate. And I see it as solid because of the limitation of my vision. And that's how the indriya's limitation makes me feel it solid. But nothing is solid. Everything is in tremendous motion. And that's what has been spoken of even in the quantum physics with the help of this double slit experiment. It's a very wonderful experiment. That just now we spoke that the electrons are moving. Now I may have an idea that the electrons at least are the matter. The science now try to really find out that what the electrons are. So for this, that double slit experiment with the electron gun, when the electron is spread out to find out what its real nature. So what the experiment is, that there are two screens. One screen, behind that another screen is there. In the first screen, there are two slits, two windows. Now, when I am spraying something where there are two slits, so if these are matter, this matter will enter through these two slits and it will go and hit the second screen and I will get two spots. But if it is a wave, suppose the wave of water is coming through the two windows, then what will happen? This one wave will interact with the other wave, and when it reaches the second screen, where the top of one wave gets synchronized with the top of other wave, there I will get a huge surge, huge wave, and where the top of one wave gets comes in touch with the trough of the other wave, there it will be totally nullified. The top will nullify the bottom. So you will have dark and light bands. Some light band will be there, dark band will be there. If it is energy, if it is matter, I am supposed to get two spots on the second screen. Now the experiment starts. First, one slit is closed, one slit is open. The electron beams are being shot from the electron gun. And on the second screen, they find a spot. So now they think that, yes, the electrons must be matter. The same experiment now they conduct by opening both the slits. Now I should get two spots. The electrons which has moved from the one slit, it will make one spot. From the other slit, it will make another spot. But now the scientists are really confused. When they open both the windows, they see light and dark bands, which speaks that this electron gun through which the electrons has been sprayed. It is actually energy. It is actually energy. Now they're really confused. Is electron matter or is it energy? So now the third experiment on the same double slit is very interesting. Now they keep both the slits open, and there on the first screen on which the two slits are, they keep a camera to see what's happening in the second screen. The moment they keep a camera to watch what's going on, a very interesting thing happens. Though both the slits are open, now they find two spots. This has actually given a wonderful this new idea, revelation in the quantum physics. What's that? The moment someone is observing, the probability, the wave is a probability. The probability collapses into reality. So you have to have an observer where the probability collapses into reality. So now you will find it's a wonderful thing. The mind comes into picture as the observer. Very interesting. In our scripture, they say Brahma is that animesha. These words are very interesting. Animesha. Animesha means what? One, see, we are our eyes constantly, that we will be, what is the eyelids are constantly, we are, our goes on closing. It is never open constantly. Eyelids fall, constantly it falls. Animesha means one whose eyelids are always open. It never closes. Animesha. Very interesting. Now, if someone is observing, then only the probability collapses into reality. The moment someone is not observing, it is just a probability. So one has to be observing it constantly without any interruption. That's why Brahma with his 4 heads, it's not only in one direction, in all the directions, he's observing animation. Just see how our mythology is actually speaking the suns. The language is different and we don't understand. So unless there's an observer, there cannot be any creation. So there's this creation to the causal, the conscious principle to project itself as the universe has to first find expression as the cosmic mind. Now you will find that the matter, how it comes, it is an epiphenomenon. Consciousness is the thing which is a must, which is a fundamental entity without which you cannot think of matter. It collapses into reality. The reality is something the probability has collapsed. In science, to explain it, in quantum physics, to explain it, they give a wonderful example. What's the example? That how to understand this idea that it collapses into reality. They say, suppose in a school, in a classroom, the teacher is not there. And the students are just jumping all around, making a lot of noise. The headmaster from his office understands. Because hearing the noise, he immediately understands that in the classroom, no one is sitting in their place. They're all jumping, frolicking. Now, just to see what's happening in the class, he comes down the corridor. He comes out of his office, comes down the corridor. And by the time he stands in front of in the door of the classroom, he finds all are quiet. The students have taken their positions seeing the headmaster. The moment the headmaster is there, just by his observance, all the chaos has stopped. They have just taken their own seats, sitting quietly. So this is how the moment there is an observer, the probability collapses into reality. So you need something, that the cosmic mind, in which the entire thing has been programmed. In the previous example, we told that the red which I'm seeing is actually in the mind. Now, very interesting thing. When I say flower is red, you also say the flower is red, which speaks of a common mind. Why? Because the redness is something which I am projecting. You could have projected in a different way. The color blinds, you know that those who have aberrations, those who have aberrations are actually not aberrations. Even in modern psychology, you will find those who have these mental defects. The doctors never say he has a defect, he has a disease. They say he is a bit different. We are all projecting. We are all projecting in the same way. So we have a consent. That is called consensus reality. My reality, your reality. Actually, both are projection. Both are projection. Both are not reality. But all the majority says, yes, this is red. So this becomes the consensus reality. Only a few, those whom we call have diseased, they are projecting in a different way. That's why in the modern medical science, they say they are different. They never say they're diseased. They are a bit different. They're projecting in a different way. If all would have been projected that way, it's just like voting. We would have voted that to be the reality. It's the consensus reality. So as we can relate in this world, my perceptions, you say, yes, what you perceive, I also perceive. It speaks of a common mind of which we all form a part. So that's the mind of the Brahma. from which all the minds, just like a server computer connected in with a network in all so many computers. So Brahma is like the server computer, where all those individual PCs. So he is the one from whom the entire universe has been emanated. All that how the universe will be projected, that is already designed in the cosmic mind. When I am sleeping, nothing I am seeing. The moment I open my eyes, the entire universe is revealed. What has happened? All those ideas of redness, all those ideas were already in my mind. They were, when I was sleeping, they were all in my potential mind. They were hidden. It needed only the perception. Just the way, as long as you are not pressing the keyboard, nothing is on the screen. The moment you press, immediately you see in the screen of your computer. So this keyboard is like the senses. All the sense organs are like the keyboards. So when the moment the perception happens, I see. And what I see, that is already being. When I press A, the computer is in such a way programmed, I will see A in the screen. Not only me, anyone in their computer will press A. So it means all the computers, as per the basic hardware is concerned, are all programmed in the same way. So that's the idea of the cosmic mind, from which the entire universe has been projected. So the ultimate conscious principle, first at the very beginning, projects itself as Brahma. This Brahma is the cosmic mind, with all the revelations, with the Vedic revelations, and which is incomprehensible even to the gods. Muhyanti yat suraya. What are the gods? They're the partial manifestation of that absolute reality. When in the Vedic age, they saw the nature, various forces of nature, they personified them. That the god of rain is Indra, god of wind is Pavana. This personification of the natural forces. These are a particular aspect of the creation. So gods are the personification of the particular aspect of all the natural forces. So they come later. First, the cosmic mind, the entire universe has already been programmed. From it, the various aspects has been projected. So that's why what's in the cosmic mind is even incomprehensible to the gods, what to speak of ordinary human beings. So he has created that first. So in whom all the three worlds are superimposed, appears to be real. So it's a superimposition, just as we told. Now the cosmic mind is like the prism. The ultimate conscious principle is like the sun or the white light. The moment it passes through the prism, it breaks into the spectrum. So all these worlds, which is being projected, is because of the white light passing through that prism. So similarly, Brahma is like that prism, the cosmic mind, which is in association with the conscious principle, breaks into the spectrum of all these three worlds. It's all the mere projection of that ultimate reality. That's what is meant by yatra trisarga amrisha. And then the example comes of the mirage. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimaya. Just the way the mirage is superimposed on the desert appears to be real. So it's just a mere projection. So not a real transformation, who is always established in his own state. That's what we were telling, that the desert is in no way affected by the mirage. Not a single sand particle can be drenched by the reservoir, a huge reservoir which I'm saying. So it is always established in his own state. Everything else is a mere projection. Nirasta kuhaka. As long as you are in the spectrum, you are deluded by the spectrum. But if you are one with the white light, you know that all this projection is happening because of this prism. On the one side of the prism, you find the spectrum. On the other side of the prism is the white light. So the moment you can transcend the mind, this spectrum no more can delude you. So that is the meaning of the word nirasta kuhaka, which we gave that example in that Sri Ramakrishna is saying that the snake's poison kills other, but it doesn't harm the snake. It is beyond the delusion. The snake superimposed on the rope cannot bite the rope. Water superimposed on the desert cannot drench even a single particle of the sand. That's what is meant by nirasta kuhaka. Yatra trisarga amrisha. Through the presence of that, the whole world ceases to be unreal. As long as it is there, the entire projection, though it is a projection, it is real as long as the substratum is there. As long as the desert is there, the mirage is there. If the desert is not there, the mirage is not there. As long as the rope is there, I see the snake. If the rope is not there, snake is not there. So this projection which I am seeing gets its reality because of that absolute reality, the satyam, which has been spoken of as the essential truth. Sri Ramakrishna in a very nice way used to say that if you go on adding zeros after 1, the value goes on increasing. 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, it will go on increasing. You remove the 1, everything is 0. So if you go on adding zeros after 1, value increases, but remove the 1, all value ceases. That's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. So it is he who is the 1. Everything else is 0. He only gives, as long as he is there as the 1. We may say that this universe has its value. Some may be a partial representation, may have 1, 0. I may say he's just 10, someone is 100, someone may be 1,000, someone may be million, but remove the 1, everything is 0. So that's the idea, yatra trisarga amrisha, that without him, everything ceases to exist. So these are the ideas, all these you will find very interesting, that the ultimate reality, which is satyam, which is spoken of, I can never know its nature. But all these other things which has been spoken of, which speaks of that as long as that ultimately the satyam is there, then only I can see this as the universe. So that's how the first sloka you will find, though it's a bhakti scripture, at the very beginning, it is speaking of the ultimate reality. It's all that it speaks of the jnana, the knowledge. Based on that, how based on that the bhakti can evolve, that's the wonder of the Bhagavatam scripture. It will come. But at the very beginning, it speaks of that ultimate reality, which is just the same echo of the Upanishads, of the ultimate Vedanta. That's why Bhagavatam actually became a scripture of the householders much later. Because if you study the Bhagavatam, each chapter ends with this Paramahansa Samhitaya, that it is the Samhita of the Paramahansa, of the sannyasis. It was a scripture of the sannyasis. Gradually it became, when it started to be narrated to all, it became the scripture for all. But actually it is a scripture which speaks of the ultimate reality, which we can relate to through devotion. Where the scripture has been actually propagated by Shukadeva, though Vyasa has written it. Shukadeva, when we come to that chapter, we will find he is the Jnani of the Jnanis. He was established in his knowledge. He was always in Samadhi. From there, he was brought down to preach this Bhagavatam. So you will then understand that actually it is based on that the jnana, that knowledge. How to translate that knowledge into devotion. That's the thing which is the uniqueness of Bhagavatam. In the next 2 slokas, we will get an idea of it. So we will continue with the invocatory verses, the first 3 verses, which somehow just had an idea of the first verse. A little more has to be discussed on the first verse before we proceed to the second and the third verse. We will take up again in the next class the second and the third verse to continue with the study of the invocatory verses of the Bhagavatam. With this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you. Namaskar. We again continue with this on the next class.